that correctly?
Did you do
Like,
what?
I feel like I'm not inflecting like queen tone, or should it be like queen tone? Like, I feel like I need to practice
Wait, are you talking as if we started the show?
how to say it. Yes.
Oh.
I'm asking you. Oh my God.
Okay,
my co-host is so slow.
Let's start over. Queen Town.
It's not even funny anymore. Oh my God. Please keep that in. I'm just asking Dana, how should we say queen tone when we enter the show? And this girl is talking to me like I'm crazy. And I'm like,
I'm in
out.
producer mode right now, not co-host mode.
You're like, are you talking to me,
like,
or are you talking to me on the show?
Yeah, are you talking to me? Yeah. The first time you said it, it had a little stank on it, like Queen Town.
Queen Town. Yeah, I feel like my inflection has to go down a little.
Yeah, a little stank on it. A little stank
on it. Episode 6.
5.
What up?
5.
Okay, or that.
That's episode.
You know,
5.
we're gonna make it to 6.
Yes.
So I was just.
You were speaking it into
really
existence.
Specific.
Right.
You gotta be really specific,
right,
about what you asking for.
Manifest it.
Episode
6. But this is episode 5.
Episode 5. Yes. Thanksgiving was this week. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was great. I cooked my Holy Trinity, which was greens, macaroni and cheese, dressing. It was just me, so I did air fryer chicken wings, which were great.
Smart.
My mama played me on, well, I won't say played, but she gave me a recipe for macaroni and cheese. Because, I said I could cook. I was like the comic relief during Thanksgiving. So I'm in the kitchen. I know how to
So you had to prove it to yourself this year.
Yeah, I just really had to solidify, what I was already putting out in the world. So she gave me a recipe for macaroni and cheese the way that our Granny Johnson had made it like years ago. And over the years, my mama, unbeknownst to me, and I don't think she realized herself, that she had slightly changed the recipe a little bit. You know how you cooking something? Oh, I like a little, say I'm do this. So she's texting me like pieces, or when we talk on the phone in between, like before Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, do that. And in the midst of like preparing the macaroni and cheese, I call her and I'm like, do you realize you have changed every single ingredient in this recipe besides the noodles?
And Black women always doing some shit. They don't measure. They don't write nothing down. They will change something and just through osmosis. You're supposed to know.
Put that to taste. I'm like, Mama, there is everything on this list written down of what Granny Johnson said. You somehow changed, or just it was black cheese, but she was like, you can use shredded. It's just you. Before she made a paste with like flour and something, she's like, I do a little different. I add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm like. But anyway, it turned out.
It's a whole different mac and cheese.
Yeah, it turned out.
But
it turned out
you
good.
made it.
It turned out good. Would I cook it for Thanksgiving at this point? No. Would I take it to it's like baby shower good, not holiday good,
Oh, wow. Okay. No, oddly, I've never heard that comparison before.
But you know what I mean, right? Exactly. You know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, baby showers have like the Swedish meatballs, the chicken, the spaghetti.
But if it's a little bit off, a little bit of twang, it's like, this was missing a little something. It's not going to be end all be all the way that it would.
It's not the end of the world. Yeah. Correct.
But other than that, it's been a good solid. I was off this week, so I was just chilling. So it was a nice relaxation.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I was not off. I was off Thursday. That's it. We ordered catering. I was supposed to go to my sister's house in Virginia, but COVID canceled that, canceled the hotel, canceled the trip. Didn't want to cook. Order catering, supporting Black business. It was trash, garbage, disappointed, ruined, like was not worth me going off my diet, like trash. Like when me and Ruben were just looking at each other like, but she was Black. Like we were really confused and like disappointed. Very confused and very disappointed. So that was terrible. But we did order like a red velvet cake from this other Black lady. It was good as hell. So like half of that was great. But so I basically ate dessert for Thanksgiving because everything else was trash. And we gave away all the food. So Dana and I have been using this app called Clubhouse. It's this invite only app that is super exclusive and artsy fartsy or whatever the fuck. I've had several friends tell me about this app, and so Dana invited me, and then she hounded me because you only get so many invites. So this bitch, after 24 hours of me not making an account, was like, "So are you gonna use the invite?" And I was like, "Damn!"
It's like a Willy Wonka a golden ticket or whatever. Like, use
it really is.
Apparently, people are selling their invites. So
yeah. I heard that and I was like, wait, did I come up on something? Because I will hold my shit if it's really worth something. It's like Bitcoin.
Yeah. Especially last week with the Kevin Hart scandal. It's a Kevin Hart scandal.
Kevin Hart scandal. But let me tell y'all. So I don't understand Clubhouse. You go into different rooms and you listen to people talk about subjects. And usually the subject is in the title of the room. Is that correct?
Yes. And it can vary from like being very networking, like where's all my photographers in New York at, like trying to network, or it can be I was in a Capricorn room yesterday where it was like, where are my Capricorns at, just talking about stuff.
I would have loved to be in an Aquarius room.
Or I was in like very, very vulnerable and like powerful conversations. One of them was like on colorism. So it was like talking candidly about, and it was like Black men being very open about things like, you know, stuff that you would never hear. Yeah. And it's people from all over the world. It's only on iPhone right now. But anyway, it's like different rooms that you can be.
Dana has had a much different experience than I've had. So I downloaded it finally because Dana just would not let me live if I wasted her invite. So I downloaded it. It was kind of weird. I was going in and out of rooms, hearing people talk. Great. Randomly on, I want to say Wednesday night, this is the night before Thanksgiving, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Let me try this Clubhouse app for real since I have some time. So I go in the app and I see a room. I'm going through the rooms, and one of the rooms is called Bad Girls Club. I love the Bad Girls Club. This is a reality show where these terrible women get together and fight each other the entire season. I love it. It's like one of the best shows on television. So I'm like, oh, a room about Bad Girls Club. Let me go ahead and listen to what people have to say. I log into this motherfucking room and it is a bunch of people on stage, and it's called a stage, like if you're speaking. And one of the first questions is, the moderator is asking this woman, who do you think is attractive on the stage? Who would you have? Like, who would you fuck? And I'm like, huh? What is going on here? And then somebody I know from college, he is on the stage. So this woman is looking through, I guess, the pictures of the folks that are on the stage, quote unquote, and says, oh, so-and-so, he looks pretty good. I could see myself strapping him. And I was just, and then like the person I know was like, wait, what's going on? And then that's when I knew that Clubhouse was some bullshit.
Welcome to Clubhouse, bro.
I knew that Clubhouse was some bullshit. I was naive in thinking I was going to go into a room talking about, I don't know, some of the best moments from Bad Girls Club history, like, I ain't get no sleep, so y'all not gonna get no sleep. Like, there's so many moments. But no, I walked into a room talking about somebody I know from college getting strapped by some random woman from probably God knows where, and I was scarred. So I have not been back on the app.
Meanwhile, I was in a room having an in-depth, very articulate conversation about the season of The Undoing on HBO. So I think it's like, you really just gotta find your tribe.
I guess. I don't know. I'll give it another try, but I just feel
like... Wait, did the man object?
Yeah, he was like, wait, what? Like, you know, I don't know. That's all he said. So clearly he was taken aback. I was taken aback. And I didn't know that the Bad Girls Club was some fucking pre-Thanksgiving fuck fry fest in Clubhouse. So I don't know.
People got to do something if the clubs ain't open on the night before Thanksgiving. So
yes. So
I can't drink. That's what I'm going to do.
Whatever. And I have been watching one movie I would like to shout out. It's on Hulu. It's called The Happiest Season. Me and Dana talked about this. It is such a cute movie. Kristen Stewart's best acting, which is not saying much.
Yeah. She went from like a negative to like a 3.
Yeah. So she's playing a lesbian, so I feel like she's bi. So I feel like she's in her element, and it just shines through. Like, it shines through. I've watched it 1.5 times. It's so cute. I would watch it again. If you do see it, I am totally Daniel Levy's character. I forget the friend's name, but that is so mean. When you watch it, you will know why.
Yeah. It's a refreshing storyline.
It is. Lesbians,
conservative family,
Christmas movie. It's cute.
There's a black in-law, but they never address that he's black. The kids are actually biracial. Yeah, it's just
and the
life
kids
living.
Looked black.
Yeah,
that was.
I was saying we were talking about this on the phone, but I was like, it's the first, like, you know what, Christmas movies, they're very typical, like it's never any jarring thing to the plot line, but this was like, I've never seen a storyline like this, so I have no idea what's going to happen at the end. I can't predict the ending of it because it's not
the
boy meets girl be black, you know, she comes to their hometown and she marries the local beekeeper and blah blah, you know, like it's nothing like that.
It's always somebody marrying into some random royal family in Croatia, or it's somebody coming from the big city back to their small town.
A high-powered woman who really just needs the hometown hunk. Like,
like, are these the only people celebrating Christmas?
I am gonna come back home and start selling sunflower seeds on the corner to find this man.
Speaking of,
but I love those movies,
romance movies. That brings us to our topic today, which is about millennial marriage, part 2, because you know, y'all asked for it, so we gave it to you, or we just planned out all of our episodes in advance. But either way, we're here. And so we are going to be going into millennial marriage like our first episode, but we have a special guest today because y'all both know that me and Dana, well, y'all know us by now, and y'all both know we not married. So we had to invite some folks. Our illustrious first guest on Queen Tone. We are so excited to have them. And they, well, we've known them for many years because they're our line sisters. But but also they're just wonderful women to know in the world. So I will go ahead and let Dana introduce our first guest.
Sure. So today we have Adrienne Hill. Adrienne's currently an academic advisor for the selective admission nursing program at the Kellogg Community College in Michigan. In her free time, she works with 9th through 12th graders in the Midwest to prepare for college and the college application process through her platform, The College Lady. She enjoys spending time with her family, which is her husband of 4.5 years, and her 2 sons and bonus daughter. Her favorite pastime is exposing her kids to classic movies from her childhood and feeling accomplished when they can quote memorable scenes. And she's a Virgo.
We also have Veronica Snoddy Williams, or Snoddy as I affectionately call her. She works in business strategy for the client experience operations segment of a mortgage company, and she is currently pursuing her MBA with a concentration in value-driven organizations. She is a Detroit native, and she is raising her little ones in the same historic neighborhood that she met her husband. She is launching chemistry boxes, with the first phase being candles, coming out next month. Her hobbies include putting love into food, fueling her spontaneity through travel, and being a corny joke slayer. And she is a Sagittarius. Welcome, Snoddy.
Welcome, Adrienne.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Hi. Of course.
Hey,
thanks
y'all.
for having us. I'm so excited.
You're our first guest. How do you feel about that?
I feel special.
Hey.
Good. You should. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas. Y'all not getting this y'all playing.
Happy New Year.
What an honor.
So we're so glad to have you on. We really wanted to, after our initial episode talking about marriage, you know, at a certain point, I think even me and Nina mentioned like, but we don't really know shit because we're not married. So we definitely wanted to bring on 2 wives, but also outside career women, just all around dope people who kind of have their own identities. And also from the outside, semi-outside looking in, I feel like both of your marriages, I can see the partnership. So whether or not whatever roles within your relationships, they're not completely tied to gender. And it just seems like a very cohesive, like, family unit that I've watched you all, both me and Nina have watched you all build and to knowing you. And then just kind of being able to see that growth. And so we thought it would be great to have you both on to kind of get that insight. And I do want to add too that I was also Adrienne's maid of honor too.
Yeah,
Just a little fun fact.
And Armani says hello to both of you. He says, "What up, though?" Because he's from
Hey.
What up, though?
What up, though? So, Adrienne and Snoddy, do y'all just want to go through like how y'all even met y'all partners? I think like having a little bit of background about how each of you kind of met your partners
and the ages
was
too.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, Snoddy, you can go first.
Okay. So with my husband Dennis, we have known each other for like more than half of our lives. We actually grew up, as Nina stated, we grew up like right down the street from each other. So I actually met him when I was like 13 and he was like 16, 17, but we were just cool. He was just a boy down the street. And then as like I got to be a senior in high school before I was leaving, we just started kicking it. You know, he just became really cool. We would play basketball. We would have like porch dates, eat ice cream, Haagen-Dazs, strawberry, key to my heart, and just kind of kick it. And that evolved and turned into what we have now.
And how long have you been together?
So we have been together for 13 years and married for 6.
Wow. You have 3 little ones at home.
3
all
whole boys.
Yes.
Right.
3 whole boys. I have my 7-year-old Trey, as we call him, because he's the third. And we have the new 2-year-old today,
Happy birthday, Drew.
And our baby G, Grayson, who is going to be 10 months actually very, very soon. And actually, he's twin cousins with Amir. So that's so cute.
What about you, Adrienne?
Yeah, so it's I kind of giggled when you said, how did we meet? Because that's such a funny story. We tell different versions of it. But Armani and I, Dana was actually there, her and my line sister Celeste. But we met one night. We were going out to an AUC party in Ypsilanti. And we stopped at the store and my husband was there getting out of the car. Now, mind you, I'm a very scary person at nighttime at stores. And so my version of the story is I was looking over my shoulder because I just didn't know which person was following me. But he says that I was checking him out and giving him the eye. So, when we left the store, he ended up coming up to the car and giving me his phone number. And I didn't think anything else of it. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't talk to guys I don't know. The next day I went, it was a Michigan football game. And so they used to give us these vouchers to go and get our free t-shirts from the M-Den. So I went to the mall to go get my voucher. And when I walked in, he was standing there. He wasn't working, but he was there. And so I'm like, I've been in Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti all these years, and I see you 2 days in a row.
I've never seen you before.
And so I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't ignore him. And so since then, we've just been inseparable and talking. You know, we talked every day, and now we're married and have 2 boys, Amir and Armani the second. And then my bonus daughter, her name is Amani. And so, and we've been together, that was 2012, so 8 years. Married for 4.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And that seems like yesterday.
Yeah. Fun fact, Adrienne's youngest and Veronica's youngest were born on the exact same day.
They were.
February 11th of this year.
Yes.
February 11th.
Yes.
We close.
The group chat, the group chat was popping that day. Getting birthing play-by-play. Like, wait, are they supposed to be born on the same day?
Same day?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
We so close, y'all. It's crazy.
Right.
So some of the things we wanted to talk to y'all about, you know, of course, have a lot to do with like getting married. Both of you kind of met your partners. Well, not young, because Adrienne was in college, but like Snoddy, you met your partner when you were younger. But one thing that we're just wondering, especially seeing from like people who are actually married, is like, how did you know that marriage was for you? Or like, was it something that you always thought you would participate in? Is it something that you like, I met the right person, so I'm good?
Well, I can go. For me, I've always wanted to get married. I feel like I was listening to your first episode, and I think you guys may have mentioned like the girls who have just always just want to get Yes,
Oh, yes. That was
You one of them. You one of them.
Yes. I just always, I think because I didn't have a very strong family unit growing up, I always wanted to be married, have a life partner, someone to share life with and have children with. And even more so, you guys know me, I've always wanted to be a parent. And so like the whole PTO mom, birthday parties, just everything, activities, that's me. And I felt like that was like very central. A part of that was being married and having a partner to do those things with. And so I don't know, I've just always really wanted a strong family unit. And so when me and Armani got together and we had our son, I feel like we worked towards that. And then when we were ready, we took that step and now here we are.
What about for you, Snoddy?
I feel differently. So I don't think that I really aspired to be married. Like the only marriage that I really saw that was like super close was like my grandparents. But as far as like in the household, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of okay on that. So I feel like that's the two directions that you kind of take. Like either like, no, I want to change it, or like that's the thing for me. But I think finding the person and wanting to having someone that you're like, man, I could like really be with you forever. Like I don't mind that.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool actually. So let's build something, and that's where it stemmed from. It wasn't something that I stepped in like at all with.
And when you thought about like when you did want to get married, or for Adrienne when you were younger, were you thinking like, oh, I need certain like compatibility with somebody in order to be married to them? Like what were there like things in your head that you were thinking that early, even before you had a partner in mind?
I mean, I think you have this idea of finding like the perfect mate. So you think they're going to be handsome. You think they're going to, be everything that you want them to be, right? Like you see in these fairy tales. I feel like when I was younger, that's the idea that I had. I think once you're in a relationship, it's about growing together, right? So you recognize that I'm not perfect. So you can expect someone else to be perfect, right? And so I think that changed as I got older. So more along the lines of what Veronica was saying is like, I can definitely see myself being with you, or like, I want to continue to grow with you, or I love the way that you interact with our children. I admire the parent that you are. So I think it started to change as I got older versus as a kid, you're just like, oh, you're in la la land, kind of like with this marriage is. Yeah.
You thinking about what kind of car they gonna
what
have.
job, how much money they gonna
right.
His initials are gonna be this, so that my initials
this and my initials gonna be that.
Doing the match.
We gonna wear matching outfits. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. We gonna live in a mansion with 4 kids.
Oh. The feminist in me is so ashamed.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Trust me, I get that.
What does so funny, so even in again on the app and Clubhouse, and I'm in a lot of these different rooms where people are kind of bouncing ideas of what marriage will be. So it's a bunch of single people, really in my opinion, talking in circles because it's just what they think it is. So similar to like even how Nina and myself are talking. But the question often comes up about compatibility. And so I'm curious to know, like, what do you believe marriage compatibility looks like? Like, is it we have interests together, or we have the same values, or kind of what would you say if you were kind of bestowing advice, or even from your own kind of perception of what does it mean to be compatible in a marriage, at least to be healthy or successful?
Yeah.
Because you and I is going to be happy every single second, but to be healthy.
I think compatibility in marriage is really knowing and accepting, loving, respecting that person for who they are, and realizing that you're two different people. So you're going to evolve differently. Like, I mean, I've been with my husband since I was 17. I'm for damn sure not the same person I was when I was 17, but being able to still align and be on the same team. So if you're able to do that, then that's compatibility, and recognizing that. So at the core of who you are, the foundation of your relationship, being able to get back to that and stay aligned on that. And there have been times where we've had growing pains within our relationship because I'm growing in a certain direction and he's growing in a different way. And kind of like on Insecure, how Issa, right, and Molly were, and they were looking at each other for who they used to be. And you come to those points, and then you have to kind of recalibrate and say, like, okay, I see you, I see the effort, I see what you're doing, I see who you are, and now let me acknowledge that, and let's move together in that unison. So I think compatibility is like at the core of who you are. If you two can stand together, then that's what it means. I mean, interests, you know, we don't like the same things, but you know, not all everything, but we do love each other. We love to be in each other's presence for certain things that I might not like, but hey, you can expose it to me, cool. But at the core of who we are and where we founded this relationship, that's where the compatibility lies for me.
I definitely agree with that. There are times I feel like when you're early in a relationship, things can be very like superficial. But as time goes on, you really get to know a person. It's, you know, over time, I feel like I'm always learning something new about Armani. And I'm like, how have we been together this long? And I didn't know this about you, you know, and it can be like small things. And even more so, I think, you know, there are gendered things that, you know, the idea of like a man is supposed to be strong, or, you know, I think misconceptions I feel like women and men just have about each other in general. And I feel like as you grow with someone, there are so many eye-opening, you know, moments that happen, or even thinking about me having young boys, it changes how I see Armani. Like, wow, like I never thought about you in this light of being a boy who had to grow up, and how this may have been for you. I don't know if that's making sense, but it's just, you know,
he had a life before.
Like
makes sense to me.
A life before.
Makes sense,
and that's part of his story too, and what makes him tick.
You know, sometimes I sit and think, I'm like, wow, like, you know, I know who I am. I know all of my memories and my experiences, but then thinking about how my boys are growing up, and then thinking about Armani from that perspective, I think it makes things a little even more deep. And I think really it's about balance and adaptability. Like Snoddy was saying, and for me, it's values, not so much interest, but values, because me and Armani are like night and day. You guys can tell everyone he is a big personality with energy, and he's funny, and I like to laugh too, but I'm a little bit more serious at times. But they say, like, you know, either opposites attract, or some people are with people who are just like them. So I think it's more about like the values that you hold, and if you're willing to, you know, work with someone to accomplish some goals, and, you know, just go get through those growing pains that Snoddy, you know, was mentioning. Yeah.
No, that's so true. And earlier you kind of hit on this about the misconceptions. So like, what are some of the misconceptions that now that you've been married for like a few years, you're like, oh, like, why was I thinking that? Or things that you hear people like me and Dana say, you're like, girl, just wait.
Yeah. What are the things that you're like, you have no idea. You have no idea. You think you know, but you have no idea. Let me get out my pen and pad. What are those?
Right.
Snoddy, did you want me to go first, or?
Go ahead. You introduced it.
That's such a good one. You mentioned being a feminist earlier. And so with my women's studies and sociology background, there are some things that like kind of shook me to my core. And one of those things was the idea of being submissive. So like before we got married, we went to, we had a marriage counseling session with like the pastor who married us. And I was like, I'm gonna just be honest. This idea of like submitting and bowing down, I can't get with that. I can't wrap my mind around it. And you know, he really laid it out for both Armani and myself in saying that like, you know, being submissive doesn't mean you're a slave for your partner, or you do everything, you know, that they tell you to do, or, you know, like you have no say in the relationship. You know, it is still a partnership. And I think Armani and I have really tried to embody that. Like, we don't have gendered roles. Like we do what we need to do to make our house, you know, function or keep it up and moving. You know, when you have kids, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna wait till
it's more about efficiency. What works best.
I can't wait till Adrienne get home to cook. These kids need to go to bed right now. So I think that's, you know, one of the misconceptions, at least for me. I know every marriage is different, but the idea of like those gendered stereotypes, and then the idea of like submitting, that means you're going to be a slave to your husband, because she don't do that.
You know.
I don't know about her, but
Right.
she don't do that.
So yeah, that's one that was in the forefront of my mind, at least before I got married.
No, I completely get that. For me, I think misconception is like the whole idea of like what marriage is traditionally. And I always think of marriage as something that you define for yourself. Like it is the vows that these two people have stated. And so when you look at a marriage, like, I wouldn't do that in my marriage, like, you're right, because it's not yours. So, like, whatever works for them works for them. As long as no one is in danger and both
True.
parties are happy, keep it moving.
Yeah.
So I think that we create our own thing. Whatever works for us works for us. You know what I mean? And that is exactly what Adrienne said. Like it's a partnership. Like, I cook because I like to cook. Like, and then, but Dennis might see.
And you can cook.
But
Yes.
but like I don't think
and
it's
that
certain
part.
like because you're this is what happens. Like no, not at all. And we do what we need to do to make things work. So sometimes that means like, hey, you have a goal, you have this deadline, you have something you have to do. Like that means I have to bite the bullet. Let me make sure that everything is taken care of so that you can be in the zone and be the best you. And that's tit for tat. We have to give like, marriage isn't 50-50, it's 100-100. And because sometimes you're not going to be able to bring that. So that person always has to come with 100 because you might not have that 100 that day. So I think that that's a misconception is that, that the partnership aspect has to be like this traditional thing. And it's just really what you make it. It's really what it means to the two people in it.
Yeah, another, if I can, another thought that I had, I think so many people think that marriage is supposed to be like roses and peachy all the time. I think that's a misconception. And so early in my marriage, early when we first got married, I used to talk to my aunt a lot, and they've been married since 2004. So now I guess that's like 16 years. But she said that she had a mentor who previously told her that you should think of a marriage as like a newborn baby, in that it's developing. Like you have to put time into it, you have to learn it, you have to nurture it. And so she's like, your first year, like most people think of it as like, yes, the honeymoon phase, but it's like a newborn, and then you have the terrible twos, and then it's now the 3-year-olds. You think you're getting the hang of it, but then here come these 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds thinking they know everything, and so it gets better with time. And I hadn't heard anything like that before, so I thought that
that's the first I've heard that.
So I thought it was
that comparison.
I thought it was like a good analogy. And she was just saying like the early years, most people think of them as like the golden time, but really it's the time when you're really getting to know your partner the best, and you're going through the growing pains because you're learning now how to really live with someone and how to put someone else's needs sometimes before your own, whereas before you were just kind of operating as a single person and all you had to think about is yourself. And so I always think that's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, I think a piece of advice that I got that was very useful is that like the person that you're with, like the little things that they do that annoy you, can you live with them? Because those things probably will not change. So if you can live with them, then that's the person for you. But if there are things that are like, but this little, I don't know about that, and this, they're probably not the person for you, because it's only going to get extrapolated like by being together. So
every day.
Oh Lord.
What piece of advice would you give to your unmarried self? So if you could hop in a time machine or a time telephone or whatever and say, hey, you should really know this.
I would tell myself that like basically that things won't always stay the same. The only thing that's constant is change. Like, and I know that I started it by saying that, but I think that that was a realization that I had to have by going through it, that like things don't always stay the same. And there are so many life experiences that happen to where you can't go back to being the person that you were before. So knowing that and giving each other grace when we're trying, I think that would be like, and remembering that we're human, both of us are.
Yeah, I was going to say to give yourself grace. I think I am really hard on myself because I'm a perfectionist. And so I think earlier when I was talking about, and wanting things to go perfect and wanting things to go smoothly and I didn't come into the relationship thinking like, oh, you're going to go through changes the same way that I am, or who you are right now may not be who you are a year from now. And that's okay because we were 22, 21 when we met each other, And so I wish I could go back and give him more grace and myself more grace as far as when we were going through some of those changes and really, I saw another quote. I'm like big on quotes, but it was one that was talking about recognizing that like when you're with your partner, when things come up or when you guys are trying to get through things together, it's you and your partner against the issue, not you versus your partner. And I feel like I came from, again, I talk about the environment that I grew up in where it was just arguing and back and forth. And it wasn't a strong...
It's a sport.
Yeah. It wasn't a strong, family unit. And so disagreements were just always handled by like arguments. And so having to undo that and learn how to communicate, and recognize that it's us together figuring out how to get through this issue, not a yelling match or not us, against each other, because you're not going to figure it out that way. And so, I definitely think, to my younger self and trying to figure out what it means to be married or what it means to be someone else's partner. Communication is very important and giving me and him both grace.
Yeah. You mentioned even how you were, when y'all got married, you were young, and even, both of you kind of were young on the spectrum of like, as a woman kind of coming into yourself and knowing like who you are. So how, kind of given that you were married going through that, so it's you also finding your own and both of your husbands also finding them. How was that kind of navigating, really learning who Adrienne is as a woman and Snoddy is as a woman while also being married? Do you feel like that was harder because you were committed to someone, or did that help because they kind of helped you determine who you are or kind of mirrored that for you? What were your experiences for that?
I think for me, it was hard because like in the non-traditional sense, like we had a child first, and that in and of itself like warps you completely and changes your identity, and you see yourself as a mom, and then you have to figure out how to be yourself again, and then how to be a spouse, and then how to be. So like those different identities were all lined up and stacked up while I'm still trying to figure out like, well, I'm like not even 25 yet. Like what? And so that was a lot to take in, a lot. And I feel like, honestly, right now, I feel like we're in a good groove. But really it's kind of leaning on who you are and making sure that you're doing things that are just for you, and having a partner who realizes the importance of like you being you. Because if you have time for yourself, if you have time to do the things that you love, if you have time to just express yourself the way that you can show up 100%, then that means that you can pour all of that into marriage, into the children, into whatever else, and allow those things to grow too. So I think that it's definitely a challenge coming of age, like to be a real adult while maneuvering through marriage, and then in my case with kids as well. So that was a challenge.
Yeah, that definitely resonates with me, just because we had our son Armani before we were married as well. And I just remember having moments where I was like, I don't know what I like. What do I like to do? Who am I?
What are my whole identity crisis?
Exactly. A whole identity crisis, like when you have to, do those sheets, like, what are my hobbies? I don't know. I like watching.
I cut my hair, everything. It was the whole thing.
But
you worked it though. I remember that.
Yeah.
Very, very
but
cute.
To be honest, like, and Dana, you probably know this, like going to the movies has always been a thing that I've loved. So when I say that jokingly, but I feel like I don't know what it is, if it's from my childhood, but I've always just enjoyed me time, either going to the movies or watching movies. And I don't know
Me too.
if, you know, that helped me, along with music too. That helped me, you know, get through some of it. But I definitely had an identity crisis. And I think it's because after you have a kid, your mother identity is so salient, you know, like I can't see myself outside of being a mother. And then now that you're a wife, like, okay, I have two people who are needing things from me, or, you know, but I don't know what I need for myself, or, you know, I don't know. But yeah, that was, it is really difficult, especially because I got married. I was right before I turned 25. And so, you know, when you guys were like, what's a lesson? I talked to my husband about these questions too before we started. And so I'm like, oh, what was a lesson we'd give to our younger selves? And we both agreed also, like, not rushing things. Because I think we, you know, me, I'm a very like, oh, okay, this is the next step, gotta get, you know, kind of thing.
Planned and
yes. And so, and I think when I was younger, the idea that being married by 25, like that seemed like the goal, or like
25 is a baby.
Yes. And so me and
a baby,
when we were talking about this, you were just like, yeah, you know, we could have been engaged for 2 years. We could have waited, but you know, not that it would have changed, not saying that we would have wanted it any differently, but it's just like, yeah, like 25 is really young. You're just learning who you are.
Your brain is just now.
Yeah, you're developed. Just because you only been in your 20s for 5 years, so you really only been. you really only been for 5 years. So yeah, him and I both kind of agreed on that, but you know, we wouldn't change it for ourselves. But that's some advice that we'd probably give our kids when they're 25 trying to get married. You better wait till you're 30. You know.
And so for all you 30-year-olds like me and Dana out there, unmarried, don't worry. You're on the right
path.
Work on being a great auntie.
But I will say,
I
will say you were asking if it helped me though. I think Armani is very good at like asking me reflective questions, like, well, what is it that you want to do? Or you're good at this, why don't you try? So I think in having him during those, you know, turbulent times or during my identity crisis, it was helpful. So it was like Snoddy kind of touched on, like it was hard, but it was also helpful at the same time.
You married someone who's more inquisitive than you.
I'm very inquisitive.
I didn't think it was possible.
Right.
I agree with that, but I think that
Quiz 16.
Yes, that's all I can think about is Quiz 16. Anyway,
it's not going to catch on. It's not a thing.
In Quiz 16, I thought you were so clever.
Right.
But I think that that's also important, is that like whoever you have in marriage has to be like a friend, like a true friend, because like that's important. Just like Adrienne was saying, like in those times, like you still had this person who was by your side, you know, whether or not like it was you were cool, it was like somebody who could help and make sure that you were aligned. And then also like marriages, they go in waves, like any relationship, any friendship, anything, it's waves. And so at the bare minimum, you should be able to have a friend. Like, you know, sometimes if I'm irritated by Dennis, it's like, you know what, but I'm gonna come kick it with you because I want to kick it with my friend. I don't want to kick it with my husband right now. I want to kick it with my friend. And then we can get back to being cool. You know what I'm saying? But like that part is so important, like that friendship part, because I feel like, you know, in my marriage, Dennis knows me better than anyone on this planet. And that's the level of transparency that I'm able to give him and that he gives me. And so it allows us to show up as our real selves in here. So like, that's important.
Our real selves. I
you
love
guys,
that.
When your parents are like, I know you better than you know yourself. I understand that now as a parent, but even sometimes with Armani, you know, it's gonna be my husband. Like, I know what you're thinking without you even seeing it. It's because you become that in tune with your partner, you know.
I feel it.
Adorbs. Maybe one day.
Adorbs. No, to the friendship thing, as Nina and I were discussing, like, because, you know, we have these idea for topics and like who we want to talk to. But even for both of you two, one of the key things where I can see like the friendship shining through, you know, whenever both of you are interacting with your spouse, it's like, no, yes, I see husband and wife, but I really just see two homies, you know? So it's like, it's good to be able to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to, because both of you have beautiful families, and twin cousins, born on the same day. So like, but both of you had children before you entered marriage. So like, I guess retrospectively and having more children after you got married, like, does that change how you operate in your relationship, or does that, like, how does that affect your marriage at all, if at all?
Well, yeah, once you have children, or at least for us, I think, well, I know our children are our priority. So like I was mentioning earlier, there's like a pecking order. Like when you become parents, you're trying to make sure your children have everything that they need. And then you try to make sure your partner has everything that they need. And then, you're always being selfless. So you're last, I'm last.
I don't see that for myself. I just
right.
So you asked how it changes it, and whereas before Little Armani, it was just all about me and Armani spending time together, us going out on dates or doing fun things, and granted we could still do that, but now it's like you have to make arrangements, or if you want personal time, you gotta try to fit that in very unique ways. So definitely it changes when you have kids, just because you just don't have the freedom to sometimes move the way that you did when you were single, for sure.
I definitely agree with that. I like to call it planned spontaneity, right? Where you don't make any plans. You have a sitter and then you don't make any plans until they leave and then you're like, all right, let's just go. But
yeah.
I mean, I think that I do believe though that with being together for more time, maturing as individuals, that having children later on, it was an easier transition than the initial child.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's more of a timing. Like between my first and second child, it's almost 6 years. Last two are kind of back to back, but
Me too.
It was it was a little bit different. Like from kind of talking to each other after having Trey and knowing, what was going on, how it was feeling. It was easier for Dennis to recognize things like postpartum, like, and what I'll need and how he can be supportive, because we had talked about those things. So I think that that transition was easier. Now the time thing, way harder. Support, great. That's that would be the trade-off.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, just because when we had Little Armani, our circumstances were just completely different. And so this time with Amir, they're 6 years apart as well. It has been much easier as far as the transition, and me and Armani had the same conversations, because I struggled with Little Armani with, like just being a recent graduate from college and being away from family, just having too many life transitions at once. It kind of hit me, really hard. And so this time, I think Armani definitely knew what to look for. And so in having another kid, it was much easier. But just getting back to, that time, I think we should make more time, like for date nights. I do admire the couples who are able to plan date nights every week. I think we just need in Kalamazoo, we have my grandmother here, but we don't have like a large support system here, to have the kids all the time. But I think that's the only difficult part, I guess, for us as far as making time for us outside of our family. Mm-hmm.
Since you both had kids going into your marriage, what is your vision, or what are you looking forward to for, like, once the kids are out of the house and it's just the two of you? Because I don't like, then that's your, not honeymoon time, but in a sense it's like that's the time where y'all are,
your time to yourself. Y'all still gonna be young.
Y'all can walk around the house booty butt
That's
naked.
literally what came to my mind.
Y'all can eat what you want. You don't have to eat chicken nuggets for the kids. Like,
I was like,
what does that look like for y'all? Or at least have you been thinking
bliss.
about?
Oh, we talk about it.
Do you have a counter? 18 years, 17 days.
We're like, we'll be mid-40s. We're about to be having, we're going to be like, Amani, keep your brothers. We going out of town.
Right?
I mean, because I'm still relatively young. So, like,
Yeah.
Life will still be lived.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
we're gonna tell the
absolutely.
kids,
It
catch
will
us when you
be.
can. Like I'll be home for the
Popping.
holidays, and then after that.
Mhm.
But I think that that's a cool thing about having kids early is that at least when
Yeah.
they're gone, you know, you get, I guess you get the
Yeah.
life experiences. That's the trade off. Like, you know, you either get them like while you're in your 20s
Yeah.
or like later in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So, you know, here we are. But we do think about that very, very often.
Yes.
Of just like having the house back and just being able to just
Yes.
be.
Mm.
You know, like sometimes in certain moments, you know what I mean? Like, you know, intimate moments, you might have to be like reminded, like, wait, this is my house. Like, why am I
Yeah.
being quiet?
Oh
think
Lord.
I bet the neighbors know my name.
Guys, I think I'm on social media too much because I'm gonna bring up another post, right? So
What?
you guys have seen those posts that said in 10 years I'll be like 29 with a 5-year-old. You know, it's like people.
Yeah.
So I was.
That's a Facebook thing? You know, I don't be on Facebook.
Yeah,
That's a
there's
Facebook
sometimes
thing.
I
Shade.
I'm just playing. Go ahead.
But it always tickles me because I do the math and I'm like, yeah, in 10 years, Armani will be 17. I'm gonna be out of here. They're gonna be watching. They'll be watching.
I also definitely believe
Babysitting.
you'll be the one that's like getting payback for the ones that have kids later.
Yeah.
Like I can see you sending me like one of the obnoxious toys. Like, here you go, the little loud toy with $1 million. That's because your kid's 17 and mine is 2.
I was literally doing the Christmas list today, and I'm like, I hope no one gets Amir one of those ball popping things, or I'm gonna go crazy.
Drew just got a guitar for his
awful.
birthday, so.
Oh, yikes.
Oh. Oh yeah, that's gonna be loud.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord. See, I need, you know, y'all, this is random, but have y'all ever seen Kim Kardashian house and how people make fun of her house because it does not look kid friendly at all? Like, that's me. Like, it's gonna be sharp edges and no sounds and nothing fun, nothing in any bright color. Basically, like, sit there and have fun
all day.
Do the iPad or go outside. That's what I do to tally all. I see you. If the nanny's not, I mean, when they're not with the nanny and they're with me, they already know what's up.
I babysat over the summer. I babysat my little cousin, and I was saying all the time. And it was like the time where he could say a few words, like "mama," no, like no, maybe 2 or 3 words. After about 2 weeks, it was just say everywhere. I was like, no, that's for you. That's like you. That means no.
See, I'm good for the a. So that's what I was like that. Like, Drew, I'm like, especially Drew has me sound a. Oh, kids.
With that shit. And I be cussing out my dog, so I already know I will.
Remember how you were with Ben?
Oh, I remember Ben.
Oh yeah. I'm better. Ben was not my dog.
He just happened to live where you live.
Ben was not my dog. Ellie is my dog. I treat her much better.
Let me make sure to never let you babysit my future kid.
Not my kid.
My kid.
In fact, it's funny. I was telling Ruben, I was like, even if we ever break up, like I would still want to have your kids because I would just let you have full custody. And
I mean, that sounds like you're letting you're setting the expectation, so he should not be surprised. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, I was like, you'll be a wonderful father. I will not fight you for custody. In fact, I'll insist.
Mm-hmm.
And I will show up on time with the check and a new pair of white Air Force Ones every 2 weeks.
Speaking of father, let me see how to phrase this question. How do you see the traits of like a good parent in your partner? Like, you know how when you're dating or you're getting to know someone, it's like focused on them, but how, at least for things that you all saw prior to marrying your husband, because I assume y'all both wanted kids or at least had an idea or open to it. It wasn't like a strict no or up in the air. What were the things that were like, oh, this dude is dope, but also like he could be a good father to my possible kids? Or did you see that, or was it just more so he's just a good person, more so I know exactly?
Because Adrienne, you have a bonus there. So
that's
Mhm.
exactly what I was going to say. So Armani is naturally like a giving and sweet person, but then also how he was. Armani, when I met her, she was 2. And so like he was just always really playful with her. He was very attentive and caring, in tune with her needs. And I feel like he's like that as a person, not just as a father. Like it makes it even better that he's that way with his kids. But I feel like if you're the person you're dating doesn't have kids already, just the things that you value in a person, like I just feel like,
Mhm.
you want someone who's going to be giving and, nurturing isn't just a woman thing, but yeah, attentive to your needs, sometimes that can be indicative of how they're going to be as a parent. Yeah. Snoddy, what would you say?
For me, I mean, the interactions with like children, I saw Dennis like with his niece and his nephew, um, and just like him overall, like Dennis like never meets a stranger. Like he's like really like outgoing and friendly. Like he's like his heart is like huge. Like sometimes, and
Yeah.
I've been known to be selfish. So I think that we balance each other out, and just knowing that
Yeah.
nothing
um
wrong with that.
he has a heart the way that he does, like, and is able to love people the way that he does. Like he's that friend that tells his friends like, all right man, love you, like, and they're like love you
Aw.
too, okay. Like that's him, and that's just like always been him. So I know that he wears his heart on his sleeve. So I feel like I just saw him for who he was, and that if that's how he shows up in life, then that's definitely how he's going to be show up in parenthood. Plus, I mean, I really,
Yeah.
Trey wasn't necessarily like playing. So like when
Surprise!
Yeah.
Surprise!
when I took this pregnancy test, which I took, and I was like,
Ultimate pop quiz.
he was like running around the apartment like, oh my gosh, I'm about to be a dad, and that told me everything that I need to know about like who he would be as a
Yeah.
dad. Because meanwhile, I was like, we're doing what? What's happening?
What
Like,
had happened was, yeah. I will say Dennis has been clutch because I think since I've known you, you've been with him, and I think we all remember a time where Dennis was just super clutch.
Oh yeah.
fried chicken and
fried chicken?
Wi-Fi.
Right, he came through with a pan of fried during a
And
time.
Wi-Fi. Yep.
Yeah, we
Wi-Fi.
were lacking
Yep.
in resources, and he came.
The name of our
It's
Wi-Fi
fried
was
Fried
chicken.
chicken. Yes, yes. So always, yeah. When you say big heart, I that's what I think about. Like Robo comes through in the clutch.
So okay, well, you know what? This has been an amazing conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot from you ladies. Even stuff I didn't know. I mean, clearly I know y'all very well. But some things that I didn't know. And so yeah, thank you for being our very first guest on Queen Tone for our marriage part 2, millennial marriage part 2 episode. Yeah, do y'all have anything that y'all want to share? Any upcoming projects? I know y'all both bosses out here.
Right, it's plug time.
Well, actually,
where can people find you?
Yeah, so I am working on the College Lady platform. So I'm working with some students all across Midwest, so mainly in Michigan and Illinois, so Chicago. And so if you have people or know students who are interested in going to college, K through 12, and need some preparation materials, I'm here to assist. And then I want to put in a plug just because I'm working with the Trio Upper Bound program at UIC. And so we're going to be doing some career prep, and they're in Chicago. So Nina and Dana, look for an invite from me just so that they can see some representation in government and in engineering at Spotify.
For sure.
So that's my plug.
So me, follow chemistry.boxes on Instagram. We're still building it up. It's going to be launching next month. It's going to be some relaxing scents, some sexy scents, and then we'll have the boxes that'll be curated for self-love and just love all around. Now being like in these pandemic times, you want to have something fun to do with your partner Or you just want to
Girl,
have
yes.
something to get you in tune with yourself. So that'll be coming in next year. But first, we're
That
going to start
part
off with
too.
I'm
some
excited.
candles. Just get that aromatherapy going. So look out for that launch next month.
Yes. I'm
I'm
excited. I
excited.
love candles.
I always say Snoddy is Pinterest personified. I just feel like
Absolutely.
For
in
real.
everything you do,
Yes.
even when you try to do nothing, it's like,
Yes.
wow, you really
It
did
comes
it.
out as
Yeah, it
creative.
something.
comes out as
I
like,
should have really seen her arts and crafts.
yeah, that's
She's
why
great.
I'm genuinely excited
Yay.
for this. So
Yes,
for
the
both of
college
you all
lady,
doing big
chemistry
things.
boxes out here, support Black business. What did Megan say? Damn, what did Megan say? It's on her new album.
Body.
It's something pussy
Bitch.
support Black business. Now I don't remember exactly.
I mean, those are all
This episode was produced by us and edited by Dana Cole. Our theme music is the track Same by Ricky Ells. Be sure to check it out on all streaming platforms. For questions, comments, feedback, or topic suggestions, hit us up at queentonepod@gmail.com. Be sure to also check us out and follow on Instagram and Twitter @queentonepod. Thanks for listening.